I remember there was a lot of kickback with it too. I remember going to some of like the designers, and they would say, well, you're really going to put yourself in a hole if, it won't be cool enough if we have to design for ADA accessibility. And I remember looking at them and being like, you're the people who designed these water parks. Right. Make it cool. Yeah, and I got up and I left. Because like, if you're not going to bring what we want, then I'm just not going to do it.
Pull up a chair, bring the vision you're chasing. Look over the blueprints, years in the making. From planning to progress and growth that will last. Come on, let's build and enable at the inside table. At the inside table.
Hey, thanks for jumping on our Insight Table podcast today. So I'm glad to have another awesome guest today in Lora Helmick. She is the director of the Washington Township Park out in Hendricks County, Indiana. She's done some great projects out there, but please listen today as you're kind of thinking through this. She talks a little bit about Murphy Aquatic Park and what makes it so important and special for her community. I think there's something to be learned in this. So take a listen to this, and we hope you enjoy this one as well. Really grateful to have Lora here. She is the parks director. I don't want to get this wrong, but for Washington Township, right?
Yes.
So
in Avon.
There are
about 100 Washington Townships.
That's right.
I have found out.
So that is west of Indianapolis. So I'm going to have you, if you would start with us today. What we're trying to do here is interview community leaders who are doing really good things in their community. And it's not always just the mayor's office or the police or the police chief, or maybe not the fire chief. You are in a little bit different position. So I'd love to hear about your journey, who you are, and how you got to where you are today. That'd be helpful.
So again, Lora Helmick, and I currently work for Washington Township Park. I'm the parks director. And so I actually was born and raised in Avon, lived in the same house my whole life, very close with my family. And so I graduated from Avon High School.
Okay.
And so it's funny because the Avon it is today is not the Avon that I grew up in. It was a little bit more rural back then. And so it's boomed so big, especially here in the last 10, 15 years. And so I graduated in 2007 and I went to Indiana State.
Okay.
And so like most people, when they go to Indiana State, I wanted to be a teacher. And about sophomore year, they have you do a student teaching and, or not a student teaching, like, a job shadow.
Sure. Yeah.
And so I went with my sister-in-law and I lasted one day.
One day.
And I told my mom, I can't do this. And she said, okay, well, you need to graduate in 2 years. So pick a different major. And so, that's how I landed on sports and recreation management. Was not sure at all what I wanted to do with it, honestly. Most people join that major and they think that they're going to run the Pacers organization.
Okay.
I'm not really like that well versed in sports, but I knew I wanted to be outdoors all day long. And so it's actually funny. I had called my brother to tell him that that's what I was changing my major to. And he was like, well, that's my major. That's what I graduated with. I was like, no, really?
Didn't even know. Yeah.
Had no clue.
Okay.
And so I graduated from there and worked for the Indiana Park and Recreation Association. But that's more of like nonprofit. And as I was working with all these different park professionals, I knew that I wanted to work in parks. When I first started working in parks, it was with Brownsburg Parks, and I did program planning, and I loved that job. That was, everything I liked doing.
Yeah.
Planning events for the town, planning events for people. And it was just a really fun job. It's great to have right out of college.
Yeah.
And so I worked there for about 4.5 years. And after I had my first son, I realized that I couldn't really do a job where I worked so many nights and weekends. It just wasn't going to work
with the
out
kids,
for me. Right. Yeah. And so I remember this job came up. And in my opinion, I didn't think I was qualified enough for it, but I was like, you know what, I'm just going to take a gamble and I'm just going to go and see. Because back then in 2015, it was a small department. It was about 3 people in the office, 4 maintenance guys. So it was a lot smaller. So I was like, I think I can do a small department. And so I went for the interview. It was 3 different interviews. My last interview, it was all males in the room. And so I was like, they're definitely not
Yeah.
picking me, this 25-year-old girl. There's no way. And they picked me.
Wow.
And so I was so
Congratulations.
excited. And then I was like, now I got to figure out what I'm doing.
That's right.
And so, it was exciting. We did a lot. We started from the beginning. Being a park director was always my dream job. It was always kind of my end goal.
Okay.
And so we just started running with it. And I was fortunate enough to have a trustee that figured out early on, like, okay, she knows what she's doing. And he trusted me enough to kind of go from there. And now this will be my 11th year being park director. We started out with one park property, 3 in the office, and about 4 maintenance guys. And now we have 5 different parks.
Okay.
We have full-time, or we have year-round staff. We have almost over 40.
Wow.
And then in the summertime, it'll be over 200 staff.
Okay.
Lot of moving parts, a lot of things going on all at once.
Yeah, I want to get into some of those here in a second. Just for our listeners, if you're not familiar, and maybe you can help me explain this a little bit, but in the state of Indiana, we have townships that often override the communities or kind of take the same geographical area. And many times the townships are responsible for certain things that the community is not. But oftentimes they actually duplicate. So Washington Township, if I remember correctly, covers part of Avon or most of Avon and covers some of even Plainfield.
Yes.
I think so as well, right? And so I know Plainfield has a good parks system of their own. I think Avon even has some park ground of their own. So help us understand where Washington Township fits into there. And you guys are funded through the township tax structure.
Yes.
Right? So anything you can add there?
Just like you said, way back in the day, everything was townships.
Okay.
And then slowly towns started to form. Well, Avon is kind of a newer town. And so before the town was there, it was the township. And they've evolved over the years too. So the map really looks like Swiss cheese.
Yeah.
It's very confusing. It's confusing for the community too.
Sure.
But it actually covers parts of Danville, parts of Plainfield, parts of Brownsburg. But it's so big. I think the last census, it was about 62,000 people that we're really covering, which our township is bigger than most. And so most townships don't have a fire department and a parks department. But townships take care of parks, fire, and then they also help with poor relief.
Right.
And then a little fun fact a lot of people don't know, but any town that has abandoned cemeteries, the township takes those over. So when I first started, we were mowing 5 different cemeteries, which was the oddest thing I could think of. But yeah, townships take care of cemeteries as well too. And so the nice thing about Hendricks County is it's a really good group of parks.
Okay.
And we have a Parks Foundation that covers all of Hendricks County. And that executive director, she actually has all of us meet quarterly. So all the directors meet quarterly. And we just kind of talk about, trails, how we can connect things. But we also talk about like the struggles that we're going through in our prospective areas. And then there are 2 other aquatics facilities, Plainfield and Danville.
Okay.
And in the summertime, it's nice because we can kind of talk to each other about different things going on or how they're handling different situations. And it's nice to be able to work together and to be able to ask questions with each other too.
Good. I do want to talk. So you have 5 parks now, and you said over 40 people full time, and then you've got, of course, seasonal. Do you know how many acres you guys have in parkland? Do you know?
I know that we mow 347 acres.
That's what you're mowing.
Yes.
And clearly you have other wooded property too, right?
Yes.
So,
and so we have different wooded properties. There are 2 parks that are connected, our Pecar Park and Pock Park.
Okay.
And so those ones are connected, and Pock is basically all woods.
Okay.
It's 64 miles of trails. And it just completely connects to PCAR. So we were fortunate to be able to have our natural park connect to a trail system. And then the town of Avon, their goal has always been to connect through trails. And so they have a master trails plan.
Yep.
And we're included in that. So the goal is to connect to every park in Avon, so Township and Avon, through trail systems.
Nice. So if somebody's listening today wanted to come out and take advantage of your park system, where would you tell them to start? Like where would you tell them to do?
Hard. So I would say personally, my favorite park is PCAR Park.
Okay.
It's kind of hidden out there a little bit. Not a lot of people hear about it all the time, but it's got a nature center in it.
Okay.
And so it's just the neatest stuff. Our naturalist is really great. She could talk about insects all day long and I would be able to listen to her. But we've created a lot of areas over there as well. We took a storage closet and turned it into a bioluminescent glow-in-the-dark lab.
Okay.
And so it's just teaching bioluminescence in nature, and that's a lot of ultraviolet. And so just like about sea life and what glows in UV radiation and different exoskeletons that glow. Like most people don't realize that a tortoise shell will glow in ultraviolet light.
I did not know that. Yeah.
And it's just neat, like different axolotls glow in the dark. They have glowfish now that are bred, and as they breed, they continue that glow with them. And so it's just really neat. So we have a 6-foot iguana who is very sassy out there. Started this big, came to us. We rescued a lot of the animals. We have giant tortoises out there. They're a big favorite.
Is this free for people to
Yes.
get? Okay.
So anybody can come out and see it. We also, we got a grant through the Hendricks County Parks Foundation, and we built discovery labs. And that is just so kids can come and kind of learn through playing as well. And we have different microscopes with different organisms they can look at. And it's just a really fun area. There's a playground out there. We just built an archery range.
Wow.
That we're currently adapting so that even people with special needs are able to use that archery range. It's just a really fun area. Those are the things I love: hiking, camping. There's a campground out there. Bugs. Those are all the things that I really enjoy. So whenever I can sneak over to the nature center.
And did you grow up camping and outside a lot, or is this just something that you kind of came on a little bit later?
Not really. It more started like later on in life. Having 3 wild boys.
I think you used the word feral earlier when we were talking about that.
Yes, I do refer to them as feral because they're just a little wilder than most
I understand.
boys.
I understand.
But having 3 boys living out in the country, I live in Stylesville now with my husband. We've been together 14 years. And so that was something we like to go do.
Sure.
They love to fish. We'll go to any fishing spot around the area. Last weekend, we went to like 4 different fishing spots. We've got our favorites. And so from there, it just became something that kind of helps me wind down, get away a little bit, and gives me more time with the boys and the family.
On August 13th, the Veritas Group is hosting the Insight Summit 2026 at the Alexander Hotel in downtown Indianapolis. This is a one-day in-person gathering designed for mayors, city and county officials, planners, engineers, economic development leaders, and community advocates who are actively shaping Indiana's future. The day is built around real-world insight from Veritas Group-led projects across the state, focusing on what's actually working in infrastructure, public space development, and economic growth. Whether you're driving capital projects, navigating growth challenges, or building strategic partnerships, attendees will leave with actionable insights, expanded networks, and a clearer vision for delivering lasting community impact. Learn more and register at theveritasgroup.com/insight.
So I want to pivot over to one of the projects that our firm was fortunate enough to help you become a reality, right? Which is the Murphy Aquatic Park, which is what your jacket you're wearing today.
Yep.
Tell our audience a little bit about that project, why it's so impactful to the community, and why it's different than most of the other aquatic parks out there.
Okay. Murphy Aquatic Park, it actually started as kind of a vision 5 years before it even opened, which is something the community doesn't think of. Like sometimes I think they just think that I go, I'm just going to build a water park today. I'm bored.
Today,
Yeah. And it was like, no, there was a lot of thought that went into it. And so it was actually the assistant director came to me and she's like, we need to build a water park here. Everyone says it, we're the biggest community in Hendricks County. We need our own water
Yeah.
park. And I was like, I don't know if the trustee's going to go for this. And so I created a business plan. Her and I worked together to create a financial plan, and we kind of presented that to the trustee, and he loved it. And from there, we kind of started to talk to stakeholders. And something different about Murphy Aquatic Park is it's kind of one step above. ADA and inclusion was really the forefront of that
Yes.
project from the beginning. I remember attending an Indiana Park and Recreation Association conference where the big focus was on inclusion. And we talked to a lot of playground manufacturers. I went to a lot of sessions where people are talking about there is nowhere to go and play. So imagine being in a family and you have a child that not necessarily just ADA accessibility, but somebody who just doesn't play like the other children. There's
Right.
nowhere for that family to go and for everyone to feel included. And so that's what we really wanted with this water park. And I remember there was a lot of kickback with it too. I remember going to some of like the designers and they would say, well, you're really going to put yourself in a hole if it won't be cool enough if we have to design for ADA
Interesting.
accessibility. And I remember looking at them and being like, you're the people who designed these water parks,
Right.
make it cool.
Yeah,
and I
make it
got
cool.
up and I left because it's like, if you're not going to bring what
That's
we
right.
want, then I'm just not going to do it.
Yeah.
And so I remember from then they were like, oh, okay, well, we better design this. And so it was great because every body of water has a zero depth entry.
Yeah.
We have a water play feature. We call it the water playground, and that is built for ADA accessibility. So we actually have water wheelchairs that you can use in that playground. There's different elevations, but it's great because there are water features where you can play with the different elevations as well. We really put a lot of thought into how can we make this so that everyone can swim at one time? How do we make this so that everyone feels included? And it's kind of evolved from there too. One thing we did from the beginning that I thought was really important is that we put a call out for parents and teachers that work with children that have special needs.
Okay.
Because we needed to know what we had in our area, what this community wanted from our water park, what they don't get at the other water parks. And that was such a crucial move on our part.
Yeah.
It really gave us the opportunity to talk to parents because I would have never known from my experience that we need an adult changing table.
Sure.
I didn't realize that, and that's something that parents never have. And so talking to them from the beginning before we did the actual designs was very crucial because we could look at those specific things. We also built a playground that was ADA accessible too, because children with special needs, they don't always enjoy playing on a playground with other kids. Sometimes they like to play next to kids. Sometimes they like to hide and watch other kids, and that is playing for them.
Okay.
Sometimes they like to rock back and forth. Sometimes they like to spin. And so it was really important to me that we also had that playground inclusion feature as well. And from there, we've actually worked on making a lot of our other parks inclusive as well.
Okay. I applaud your vision for this. I think you guys, and I know our team really enjoyed being a part of this project and walking alongside of you and your team kind of through some tougher moments at times, right? Trying to get through those difficult design and construction moments and how do we get to the end. I was fortunate enough to have my family there at the grand opening, and so I was able to see it and experience it, and it is truly remarkable. Is it, or how does it relate to other ADA safe water parks? Is it different than those? Is it the only one in central Indiana? I mean, so
everyone has to have different ADA accessible features.
Accommodations,
like
right.
the lift
lift
that
and
you
the-
can sit
right.
on and go into the water. Those lifts break all the time.
Yeah.
All the time. They're out of order. They break constantly. And so it was important to us to not just be ADA accessible, but to be inclusive.
Sure.
And so that's why we included these water wheelchairs. And so the water wheelchairs, you can actually get inside. and go into the water and float around
Okay.
and be with the other kids in there. And so that was really important for
Yeah.
us also. We actually got an anonymous donor that just bought us 3 different water wheelchairs just from a call out on the community chatter
Yeah.
page. And we hear all the time how important this
Yeah.
water park is. And so from there, we've actually been able to go to conferences and teach others just little things that they can do to also accommodate that. So a lot of people have added the water wheelchairs. Or something we do is we open up 2 hours early for a sensory swim.
Okay.
So those who like really get just, paralyzed by all the noise and the lights and the kids screaming, they have a time where they can come
That's
in and it's a
fantastic.
smaller
Yeah.
group and they can actually enjoy that time with their family and be at the water park. And so because of that, other water parks are doing the same thing and
Okay.
adding those.
Are you seeing a lot of people utilize that
Yes.
opportunity? Okay.
Yes. And it's great. We have an organization, Embracing Abilities, and they don't have a lot of water parks that they can go visit that accommodate all of the needs. Like they have a little boy who doesn't really like to swim, but he loves to be on his tablet, and
Okay.
so we'll save a little cabana area so
Sure.
we can make sure he's out of the sun, he's enjoying his tablet, and he's still having fun at the water park because he
Right.
likes to watch the other kids. But the nice thing that we do too is anyone that has an aide that comes with them, their aide gets to come for free.
Okay.
And that was important to us because it helps our lifeguards out. We have
Right.
teenage
That's right.
lifeguards.
Yeah.
And so it helps our lifeguards out, but it also helps out the parents as well. And organizations like Embracing Abilities, they get to send their camp counselors for free. And so it's a little bit more affordable for them as well too. And the people that go to that camp get to come more often because it's affordable.
Well, I'm impressed with all the things you're doing out there. Let's take a higher level view now of just parks in general. What do you see as the incoming trends in 2026 and beyond where parks departments are going to have to go or they're going to be left behind? What do you think that is?
I think it's really this inclusive push.
Okay.
I think it is so important to the community. But not only that, you have to be able to adapt what you already have. And that may be difficult for some parks and recreation departments. Some of them don't have someone above them
Mhm.
who's really thinking of that approach. We're fortunate enough that we have a trustee and we have a township board that really supports what we're doing out there and what we're bringing to the community.
And you've
But-
gone through, this is the second trustee you've had though?
Yes.
That's what I thought, because there was
This
an
is our
election. Yeah.
second trustee, but I think our 4th board
Right. So
that I've had.
even through the changeover, you're seeing the same kind of,
Yeah.
and I think part of that, and I want to give you credit because I think part of that comes from the vision that you had, even as a young professional,
Mhm.
right? Trying to get in
Yeah.
and make your way into a
Yeah.
field that, like you said before, you were hired by a group of men and you're like, I don't think this is ever going to happen.
Yeah.
They were probably all older than you at the time,
Yes.
right? But they trusted you. They saw something in you
Mhm.
and this vision that you had for what it's become. And I want to give you credit where that credit is due. So
Thank you.
I know our team has loved working with you guys. So what's next for Washington Township Parks?
I always have some
I
kind
know,
of
that's
crazy
why
idea
I'm
that I'm
asking.
cooking
That's-
up, and I can't show all
That's
my
all right.
cards
I
at
get
once.
it. I get it.
But like I said, I'm transforming a lot of our current playgrounds into inclusive playgrounds. We have our archery range that we're actually making adaptable so
Okay.
that we can do adaptive archery as well. And then we are working a lot on, we've got a putt-putt course that we're going to be unveiling this year
Okay.
that'll be free to the community. Way back in the day when I was in elementary school, Avon had an outdoor recreation center and they had putt-putt and a driving range. And the people that have been there a long time remember that.
Yeah,
So it's
sure.
very nostalgic to them. So right now we're working on that putt-putt course that people
Okay.
will be able to go to. And then just really focusing on the parks that we have and how we continue to make them better. That's always important for me. A lot of departments feel like they need to compete with the parks around them and like, oh, well, they have a rec center, we need a rec center.
Right.
They have a water park, we need a water park. And from the beginning, I really tried to focus on how do I compete with myself year after
Hmm.
year. So really focusing on just how do I make us better every single
Yeah,
year,
I
and not
appreciate that.
how do I be better than these people
Right.
around me, because it's very different for every community.
Right.
You know, what works in my community may not work in Danville or Plainfield.
Right.
And so I really try to focus on how do we build us and make us go up.
And I appreciate that. So I do want to shift to that kind of conversation. So great segue. Clearly, you have advanced the park system in Washington Township over the last 11 years, and they put a lot of faith and trust in you and your team, moving from 3 full-time staff to 40, and now because of the aquatics park, I assume, and the nature centers and things, you've got these 200 plus seasonal people. Talk to me a little bit about leadership.
Okay.
What you've learned in your 11 years. Obviously, when you took over, you probably didn't have a ton of leadership experience. And now I know you're sought after to speak at other events and parks associations and things to teach what you've done here.
Mm-hmm.
But what does that mean to you? And that last piece I want you to answer is that you just talked about, which
Mm-hmm.
was this, I would maybe rephrase what you said as a constant pursuit of excellence, right? You're just consistently pursuing what's next and how do we get better than we were the year before? And I think some people think that excellence is a jump that you can take from here and get there.
Mm-hmm.
I don't believe that. I think that being excellent is being better than we were yesterday.
Yeah.
Right. And so that's what I try to teach our staff here at this company. I know that's what my staff has really appreciated about you and working with you, as we share some of the same values. Talk to me about that with the 40 plus full-time people. How do you build that into people? I want to know, because I want to help teach my staff too. So give me some things to take away from this on the leadership side too.
Well, like you said, when I started, I was very young, but I knew going into it, there were things I wanted to be, and there were things I did not want to be
Okay.
like. And I truly believe that there is a very big difference between being a boss and being a leader. A boss gets the job done. You know, they
Sure.
clock in, they get the things done
Right.
that they need to, and then they clock out. A leader is someone who is completely invested in the organization.
Mhm.
It's a lifestyle for me. The funniest part is when the year I started, my son was about 1 year old, and the trustee still talks about today that I had him strapped to me with a safety vest,
Yeah.
parking cars in different areas. So it's a whole family thing. And not only that, you know, a leader is somebody who is not afraid to do the same things I'm making other people
That's
do.
right. I agree.
It's important to me that I am leading by example. And from the beginning, even when we were a small department, I was talking to the assistant director, and, you know, I told her, I said, you know, my management philosophy is happy people want to come to work, and they will do better for you because you treat them right.
That's right.
And because you
I
care
agree.
about them. And so I really try to focus on those goals. I try to have meaningful conversations with all of my key staff weekly. You know, I'm constantly meeting with staff to figure out how I can make their life easier, how I can help them out. But not only that, I'm on call 24/7.
Okay.
So I have staff that are working nights and weekends. I have facilities open up until midnight. I have cleaning crews that are coming
Sure.
in midnight to 3. I am available no matter what. They can call me, they can text me. It's hard to have a work-life balance, but it really does work out because they know that no matter what, they can depend on me if they need something. But not only that, I try to create a team environment where we're helping each other out. If I know that maintenance is completely slammed that week because of all the things going on in the park, you may find me cleaning the toilets at the water park.
Okay.
You know, I'm not above any job that's going on there. And I really try to instill that with my staff. And I think because of that, they are also doing those same things. But I try to always improve myself as well. I just joined Hendricks County. They have a leadership academy. I just joined that leadership academy to figure out how I can improve myself better. But also, I want my key staff to be able to improve their
Great.
leadership skills as well.
Absolutely. That's awesome. Well, Lora, thank you for your time today. Thanks for coming over. I know it was a little bit of a drive to get here, so appreciate you coming over. Love the conversation. Love what you're doing out there. We look forward to doing more things with you guys in the future. And if not, just watching you because it's fun to see that accelerate. So thanks for being here today, and thanks for being on our podcast.
Yes, thank you.
All right. Hey, thanks for listening today. Thanks for clicking on this and diving in a little bit deeper. We hope you learned something today. And if you did, or you want more information, please reach out to us. We'll be happy to connect you with the right people to get you the answers that you need. But really help you leave with one thing in mind, is that our goal here at Veritas is to renew communities through great projects and great people. I think all of these conversations have shown that in some way or another. So thanks for listening today, and catch up with us next time.